How are you doing? And welcome to the 22nd edition of our questions and answers live chat. If you'd like to talk about anything in particular, just add your topic of choice into the comments or into the chat. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you're watching this after it was live, you can still go back and actually watch all the other episodes as well. And you can join us next Thursday also if you have any questions that come up in the meantime. Anything to do with gardening, homesteading, chicken keeping, anything related really. So we'll just hang on for people to join. And remember, folks, if you have any questions, please let me know by putting the word question, all caps. And you can see I'm still in our temporary office here. And the background is a little bit mundane here. So yeah, this week it's been mostly just harvesting. Actually, I've been harvesting quite a few comfrey leaves. I just put out a video about it, and I'm drying them for to make things like oil. So you can make like an infused oil, and then to make balms and creams after that. And the comfrey roots, we're also actually digging those up now and splitting them, and we're going to grow those on for the rest of the growing season. I think there's 3 more months of growth in the comfrey, and the reason why we're doing that is because we need more comfrey. We've actually had a lot of people asking us for comfrey, so we'll see if we can try and multiply some more of it, because I know we're going to need it during the winter too. People are going to be looking for it. Usually it's part of the winter selection, and we will certainly want to have it this winter again too. We have been doing comfrey plants though as well, so I might actually stick some of those in the ground just to grow them on a bit more, to get more roots for later in the year. If you haven't seen the comfrey video yet, it's just out about, I think it was an hour and a half ago I put it out. And just showing how there's 2 different ways I harvest the leaves and 2 different ways I dry the leaves as well. Again, if you're drying them, they take up a lot less space and they are unlikely to go moldy. If you're trying to keep them fresh, they're going to go moldy after a few days or a week. So the best way to deal with them is either, if you can't deal with them straight away, then don't harvest the comfrey leaves yet. But if you want to have some for the winter and you're not ready to dry them, or if you want them fresh, whatever way, you could put them in a freezer bag, maybe shred them and then put them in a freezer bag, or just put them in a freezer bag whole and freeze them until you need them. So, but again, it might make it very difficult to dry them. So you might be better off to just dry them in the first place, and then, especially during the drier months of the summer, even though, yeah, no, I think the drought is over. Lads, the drought is over. We just basically, it's all gone wet again and the fields are all mucky. So, hello Kevin, how are you doing? Thanks for coming back. Yeah, it's been very damp today too. We'll be looking forward to try and get a few dry days, and hopefully the ground will firm up again so we can get some compost delivered, because the trouble we had a few times before, well, when we got compost delivered in the winter, the trouble is obviously the truck won't even back into the field. Of course not. It's going to just get stuck for sure. But even the tractor has awful trouble actually dropping the compost off where you want it. Sometimes he just gets stuck, or the trailer might even go, it might even slide sideways because it's just too wet in the field. And it can be quite a disaster if your compost ends up in the middle of where you normally walk or drive. So definitely get your compost delivered in the summer. Ask me how I know. Although, you know, I hopefully not will dry up again. Last year I made a mistake of waiting a little too long. I think it was even at the end of July, and it was already too damp then for about 8 months thereafter to get any stuff delivered. So yeah, mushroom compost is great. I have a question here about mushroom compost. What is in it, and when does it actually do the plants like it, or is there any plants that don't like it? Well, So all it is really is it's just nitrogen, and so it's actually straw, chicken manure, and a bit of gypsum, just to reduce the pH, I imagine. But once you leave it in a pile, decomposing, you have all the worms coming into it. Once the bacteria are done with it, once it's no longer hot, and after about a month or two, you end up with a lot of soil life in it. And the longer you leave it in a pile, the better, because then you can spread your compost in your no-dig garden, and you can just grow into it straight away. But definitely keep it in a pile for at least 2 months anyway. And you can check it if it has broken down. If there's loads of lumps in it, it's still not. You need to let it break down for longer. And you can also spread it straight away in the garden, but then it takes even longer to break down. So probably about twice as much time as if you leave it in a pile. So when you get your mushroom compost, make sure you get it delivered somewhere where it's not going to be in the way, basically. And you can just plan to use it, maybe not necessarily next year, but at least a few months from now anyway. So it's never too late to get it delivered and to start a no-dig garden. Even if you're starting a no-dig garden, well, in the autumn, it's a bit late to start planting into it at that point. You could do like sprouting broccolis, and things like kale will grow through the winter. Even all the alliums as well, the perennial onions and the garlic as well. All the different varieties of garlic and elephant garlic, it's all the same. It's actually just a bulbous leek, really, and they're all in the leek family. And they'll grow through the winter, and then they'll take off much quicker in spring. So really, there is no bad time of the year to start your no-dig garden. Even if you started, I'm just trying to think, like, what is the worst time of the year to start a no-dig garden? There isn't really one. I mean, maybe December, because you can't really grow anything then, but it's going to be there for you when the time comes to plant it up, like March, April. I mean, we start seedlings in February, a few of them in January on the windowsill, but it's really kind of pointless, because even if the seeds germinate, there isn't really enough light there if it's maybe even on a south-facing windowsill in the winter time. There isn't really enough light there to actually see those seedlings through, and they'll end up growing really tall and lanky, and they're not going to be much good to you, actually, unless you put them under lights, like grow lights, for example, LED or fluorescent lights, if you can still get those nowadays. I do know that Richard Perkins uses them to start off his seedlings, and I was visiting last Thursday. I was visiting Charles from the Bull on Ark, and maybe some of you have seen the video. Let me know in the comments if you've seen the tour of his market garden and farm in Loughrea in County Galway. So the video is up there on our YouTube channel and on the website. If you'd like to see the tour of his market garden, it's there. And one thing he does is actually start off his tomato plants under lights in January. And it's actually on a heated table as well in the greenhouse. So, and then also another extra cover on top. So if you start the tomato plants off that early, and he transplants them really early into his double skinned tunnel as well. So they're not going to get frost damaged like they would in a regular polytunnel. There's definitely a good bit of insulation in it. So I'd say he probably doesn't have frost after mid-February or the end of February in the big tunnel. That's the double skinned polytunnel, just because it keeps the there's a fan basically blowing air into the cavity, and it keeps it blown up basically. So you have this much space between the two layers of plastic, and that forms a really good insulation for the winter time, especially when the tunnel is already warmed up from the daytime when the sun was shining on it, and in the evening time then it doesn't lose that heat. Probably not at all. I know it did go down to minus temperatures in the big tunnel, he said, last year. So please let me know if you have any questions about gardening. And if you are only listening to this on the audio, I'm going to be reading out whatever I put up on the screen so that you don't miss out. Again, if you're watching this afterwards, or if you're listening to the audio of this live stream afterwards, you can, don't worry if you missed it, you can still come back next Thursday at 9 p.m. and you can ask any questions you have about gardening and homesteading and chicken keeping and anything else that we make videos about. If you've been following us for a while, you'll know exactly what kind of things we like to talk about. I'm also, we're starting to put up the winter selection sale actually. And I don't want to really make this into an advertising. I just want to tell you a little bit about the cuttings, because the willow cuttings, just the hybrid willow cuttings that we use in all of our shelter belts. And it's really a multifunctional plant or tree. And we're just putting those up again now for the winter. So they're going up as the winter selection pre-sale. And that's going up on the website in the next couple of days. So we're hoping to have that finalized, maybe even this evening, but a lot of it will be there by tomorrow anyway. And we have hybrid poplars, and we have the Oka is back. So we've got Oka rainbow mix again, where it's basically mostly actually the Mexican Okas. That's the real red ones, and the purple ones we have a lot of as well. So that's nice for a change, because the Okas we used to have when I was growing hundreds of Oka plants every year, they were mostly golden ones or yellow ones. So I'm really happy to have all the other more vivid colors now these days. So it's nice to have a bit more of a colorful mix of Oka. For those of you who don't know what Oka is, it's actually just a tuberous oxalis, and it's basically kind of like a potato, but there's a bit of oxalic acid in it. So you better cure it for a week in light before you eat it. And it's really nice to eat. I know myself and even our 6-year-old son actually always goes out there and eats them. And I'm always telling him when we don't have enough of them in the garden, I like to tell him that we can't be eating them. We can't be eating them. We need to keep them and grow more first. The Okas are nice. Yakons are grown as well. They definitely didn't grow as well as they did in the previous years. We didn't have much of a heat wave here in the Midlands of Ireland, so the tuberous plants didn't do as well as they could have. Like even last year as well. Last year we had only a week of heat, like real heat, maybe 25 degrees Celsius. For those of you living in other parts of the world, you'll think that's not very warm. But in Ireland here, we'd be lucky enough to get a week of hot temperatures like 25. This year, I think it was only 4 days of 23 degrees or something like that. That's really all we ended up with. And it wasn't quite enough to justify putting up the old swimming pool out the back. But I did it anyway. Because the weather forecast said that there's gonna be a heat wave that will last for over a week, and it didn't. But anyway, so the sweet corn didn't do that well this year. I tried golden bantam. That's the variety. Because I've been growing northern extra sweet for years now, and it didn't do too well in recent years. So it's being battered by a late frost, or by the wind, or by a heavy rainfall. Sometimes even by the drought. A drought can actually make the corn fall over. It's not the wind actually. And the Okas are doing really well. The Mashuas are doing exceptionally well. They are growing a huge mass of leaves at the moment. So that's a tuberous nasturtium. And it's actually got the leaves are more of a salad vegetable. You can eat those. They're not as spicy. They're not spicy like the nasturtium leaves. So, but the same flavor. We are also growing. What else are we growing at the moment? I must do a tour actually of the new no-dig garden as well, because a lot of the plants there, especially the marshmallows and the valerian plants, are doing really well. There's bronze fennel as well. We're growing that for the second year now. So I'm looking forward to having that go to seed and naturalize in that part of the garden. And we're probably going to cover that garden in wood chips next year, or at the end of this growing season, when we take up a lot of these plants. So we're probably going to only be planting perennials in that garden from next season onwards, like from March onwards. Because I think where the garden is, the new no-dig garden, for those of you who have seen it, with the wood chip paths. There is a whole series of videos on how it's made, actually. Starting no-dig garden, it's called. And it's basically completely covered in vegetables and plants at the moment. So it's a total canopy. Anyway, there is no room for weeds in between, although there is the odd weed or unwanted plant. We're definitely looking at covering the entire new no-dig garden with a layer of wood chips to turn it into a lasagna garden or into a forest garden, for that matter, simply because it is next to hawthorn trees and they're going to be throwing loads of seeds. Now, we don't mind if we get a heap of seedlings for the hawthorn. We can use those elsewhere, and they're handy. Like they're a good tree. It's a medicinal tree too. Feeds the birds, feeds the insects as well, and it's a great hedging plant as well, which is why it's everywhere in Ireland and in the UK. Anyone here on the live stream in the UK? What's the most common hedge tree in the countryside of England or the UK in general? I assume it's the hawthorn. In Ireland, it's mostly hawthorn, a few sloes, and some elderberries, elder trees. That's about it. And ash, of course, that probably sells seeds. So if we put on our 4 to 6 inches of wood chips, that will definitely suppress some of the weed seeds, at least from blowing in and starting off. Like especially the grasses and the thistles and the nettles. They're the kind of the main culprits like that we want to avoid, because it's just extra work, and I don't want to spend. I know if I don't cover the new garden in wood chips, I'm going to end up spending probably 20 hours of weeding next year in total, and I'm trying to reduce that, say maybe to 5 hours of weeding for the whole year. So again, most of that is put in at the very beginning so that you keep it clean, but also throughout the year, especially until now. So the growing season is actually well underway of finishing, actually. I know it's only the beginning of August, but at least here in the Midlands of Ireland, it's been very cloudy in the last week or so, and it looks like it's going to be another week of clouds. Very little sunshine, actually, and I'm trying to dry some comfrey in the polytunnel. It's drying okay, but if it was sunny, it would dry much better. It'd be very hot in there, even though there's no doors and we've got plenty of ventilation. So, hello, Elizabeth. How are you doing? Thanks for coming back again. There's a question. Let me see here. I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. We have tiger nuts. The tiger nuts, so the taste, it's not like a hazelnut. It's more like an almond, but more flavor. It's I don't know if you've ever eaten apios. Apios is it's a ground nut, and it's the Apios americana, and it tastes quite similar to that. But definitely tiger nuts fresh, they are a lot less sweet than when they're dried. So obviously removing the water from the nut by just drying it or dehydrating it definitely makes them sweeter. And that's the most common way people eat them, actually. Not when they're completely dry, but you need to kind of at least keep them. If you put them in a jar with a dehydrator, or if you dehydrate them completely and put them in a jar, they may be too dry to even eat. They'd be too hard. But if you just leave them out on the counter in a bowl, for example, for like a couple of days, they're actually really nice. They soften up a little bit, and they're actually really nice, a really nice nut to eat, even though it's not really a nut because it's not a seed. It comes from the ground, so it's actually a nitrogen nodule, and so it does fix nitrogen as well. So tiger nuts is actually a grass, and it looks quite ornamental in the garden too. Do they have medicinal benefits? I don't know, but I know that on an unrelated point, in Spain they like to drink horchata, and that's actually tiger nut milk, basically. So I think it's just a good few tiger nuts, a good handful of tiger nuts with water, blended with water and a little bit of sugar. I think that's what they put in it. And it's kind of almost a national drink of sorts. I'm not sure how famous it is over there, but but it's hard to describe the flavor of the tiger nut. It's kind of like people often ask me, like, what do Japanese wine berries taste like, or tay berries, or Logan berries, or any of these kind of hybrid berries. Well, Japanese wine berry, I mean, a lot of the time you can just describe it with exotic fruits as well. So, like, I think tay berry tastes like pineapple, but that's just my opinion. You'll have to try it yourself if you can find someone that has it in the garden. And oh, by the way, we have no spots left for this Sunday's tour. We have a free guided tour going on at our garden this Sunday, but it's fully booked. So don't be disappointed though, because we'll have another one at some point soon. We just have other stuff coming up though in the next couple of weeks. So we'll let you know and keep an eye on the date. Give me a second here. I'll just put. I'm just going to put our online shop into the chat, and you can check for upcoming free guided tour dates. It should be the first item on the very top of the shop anyway, and it should be the free guided tours. And we usually do 10 people and hope that people are giving each other a lift, or that there's more than one party. Hopefully we don't end up with 10 cars, because that would be a bit much for our little car park. And if you have a community garden, or if you're part of a garden club, if you want to bring your garden club here, please send us an email. We can try to accommodate you, although our weekends are very busy. It is literally stone mad the way we're going now at the moment. Now, we do have plenty of time in between, don't get me wrong, but there's just so much work to do out there. It is just, it's the last month to do cuttings as well. So even starting plants from seed and cuttings as well. So I'm going to try and start as many cuttings as I can. And there's the email address, contact@gardensforlife.ie. So yeah, email us if you want to bring your garden club to our garden. We can give you a tour. We also have a membership page as well for those of you interested. So it's just gardensforlife.ie/members, and as a member, you get a big discount, a 25% discount on everything we do year round. And you get other benefits. You also get free access to our no-dig online course as well, which is on the website, and a few ebooks that I wrote about no-dig gardening, and some other benefits too. So take a look at our members page to find out more. So folks, please let me know if you have any questions. I understand a lot of people are still on holidays, actually, and it's definitely been a lot quieter here around Roscommon anyway. In the last few weeks, a lot of people have left, and it's always a right lottery. When should you book your holiday for? You have to book it kind of 6 months in advance, right? Especially if you're getting a house on Airbnb, especially in Donegal, like Bundoran or whatever. But how are you going to know whether the weather is going to be any good that particular week in 6 months' time? I think June is your best bet, to be honest, for booking for booking beach holidays in Ireland anyway. I guess in Spain it doesn't matter. In Spain it's always rain, not rainy and hot. So let me know if you have any questions about plants or even vegetables or anything like that. So if you haven't seen, for those of you who just joined, if you haven't seen the tour of the market garden, the Bull on Ark, that I did last Thursday, it's on our website and on our YouTube channel and on Odyssey as well. If you want to take a look at that, it's a tour with Charles from the Bull and Ark, and he grows all kinds of unusual vegetables. Like it's really interesting, because if he can grow them in Loughrea in County Galway, you can grow them too. Well, if you're based in the same climate, I guess. which you would be if you're anywhere in Ireland. I'm just looking over here all the time just to see what's happening in the menu and on the chat. And no, it was a great tour and I learned a lot, that's for sure. And I'm so happy to be able to bring you guys along by making a video about it. I know way back when it wasn't that easy to make videos and to edit them. And YouTube wasn't really a thing at the time. It would have cost you an absolute fortune, and we're so happy even to host the videos online, but we're so happy to have YouTube now. I understand the videos, they're getting the benefit and they're making money off content, but that's okay because I'm essentially getting free video hosting and also getting access to the community as well, which is worth a lot. It's the reason why I make videos is simply because I want people to be able to find us. I want people to know that we exist and what we do. I don't tell people what to do. I just tell people what I did do and what worked and what didn't work. Hello, Mike. How are you doing? No problem at all. Don't worry about being late. Better now than ever. Mike, did you see the tour of the Bull Ark that I did post up a few days ago? I was just wondering. If you have any questions about anything that happened in the tour or about any of the vegetables in the tour, I can try and talk to you about it. Yeah, it was really interesting. Again, now the last time we did a tour with Charles in Loughrea with the market garden was actually 3 years ago, and that was year 2. So now it's 5 years old, that garden, and it's amazing what can be done in 1 year and another year. So I think he used a combination between to get rid of the grasses and the weeds in the field. To do his no-dig gardening, he used a combination, same as myself. Mostly tarps. In the beginning, he used a lot of poultry, and now it's mostly tarps and some cardboard as well. But I believe he uses the rolls of cardboard. I don't think he uses the other kind of cardboard that I used, like big, thick sheets of cardboard out of furniture places. A lot of people don't bother. They just get the old roll in a hardware shop. You can get a roll of cardboard and it's really neat and it fits just underneath the bed where you're going to put your compost and on the paths. That wouldn't work. It wouldn't work here where we are because the grasses, they basically, in the winter time, they're that thick. And in the summertime, you know, they grow like to a meter. So you need a lot of cardboard to smother the grasses here. The old Roscommon grasses are fairly hardy and luscious. Oh, let me see. Yeah, you've seen some of that's good. That's good. No, there's a lot to be learned from Charles and the way he grows vegetables. And it's not just the biodynamic gardening, but it's also a lot of other stuff. There is the no-dig gardening, of course. He has a lot of perennials. He's got a lot of edible flowers and interesting vegetables that have just not just different colors, but also different flavors as well. So well worth it. And if you live near Loughrea or Bullon even, it's totally worth contacting Charles and getting an old box of vegetables off him every week. I know I would if I was nearby, but when we visit him, we just swap some cuttings and plants and bits and pieces, and a bit of veg too sometimes. There's a question here by Kevin. Is there any vegetable you haven't grown that you're interested in growing? Good question. Okra is one that I don't think we can grow here, but I often see people in America growing it, in North America. So I'm just sitting at this little computer table here, and it's awkward, and it's very shaky. If I even touch the table, the camera shakes. So what other vegetables would I like to grow? I mean, rainbow chard. I didn't grow rainbow chard this year. I did grow it before, though. I grew it for 2 years before last year, and it actually self-seeded in the garden, but now it has perished. So I need to start it again from seed in trays. So good question. What other vegetables? I know the hardy kiwi. Well, it's not a vegetable, it's a fruit, but that's definitely one of those plants. I'm also looking for grapes that will ripen outside. Like there must be some white grapes that are used in colder countries like Scotland, for example, If they ripen outside, if people use them to make wine, I don't particularly want to make wine from the grapes unless we get a lot of grapes. I don't mind doing it, but until we have enough to eat fresh grapes, then the anything extra we'll use for winemaking, because it seems like an awful waste to use grapes when you don't have a lot of them to make wine from them. But definitely varieties of grapes that'll ripen outside is something I'm looking for, because greenhouse space is always limited. And figs as well. The brown turkey is probably the most likely variety that'll work here in Ireland or in any cold, temperate coastal climate, maritime climate. They all do very well indoors, but the brown turkey does much better than any other variety that I've got anyway, outdoors. So, what other vegetables is there? Just trying to think. Leek is something. I grew a few leeks last year, a very few this year. I know they just take so long to grow. They think they take about 6 or 7 months to grow, but they're a great vegetable to just leave out there in the garden until you're ready to eat it. So you can harvest it whenever you want in the winter time. And those are the kind of vegetables that I'd be looking for. I don't really plant very many annuals, like annual vegetables, I guess. Any annual would be a vegetable except for tomatoes and cucumbers, right? I guess aubergines and peppers also, but pumpkins is actually something that we're growing this year again. We have the Oshiki Kuri and the Turk's Turban, and they're both really nice. The Oshiki Kuri stores for about 3 or 4 months, no bother at all. If you keep it dry, it can store for 6 months, no problem. And it's a nice nutty flavor, and it's really dense as well. So I guess it's not as watery. That's why it's storable. And the best thing is it ripens so fast. The Oshiki Kuri, it's a Japanese red kuri pumpkin, and it actually turns orange when it's ripe. So in the beginning, when it's not ready yet, it can grow full size, but it's still yellow, and you'll know when it's ready when it turns orange. So you'll see if you watch the pumpkin video that I made about 3 years ago. We harvested, I think, 200 small pumpkins. And by small, I mean like 1 to 2 portions, 2 or 3 portions in each pumpkin like this size, which is ideal for a small family. And that way you don't have to end up with a giant pumpkin that you're not going to be able to deal with. It's too much to deal with in one go, I find, with any of these big vegetables. And the same thing goes for animals, processing animals as well, although I haven't done very much of that. But I heard that processing a cow is a lot of work. Apparently people used to spend an entire day at it, with the whole family actually, and even get help in. But obviously smaller vegetables and animals are easier to process, and especially if it's a portion worth or 2. Celery is something I also want to grow again next year. Celeriac, didn't grow that this year. To be honest with you, I need more room. The new no-dig garden, I have half of it taken up with, actually a third of it is annual vegetables. The other third is perennial plants that I'm just growing on for one season, like valerian, marshmallow, great mullein, for example. Lots of different plants anyway. And what else is there? The tuberous vegetables as well. So you have the oca, the yacon, and the mashua. That might sound like Chinese or some other language to you guys that don't know those vegetables, but those are mostly vegetables, or actually all of them are from the Andes, and they are our heritage, or we've inherited them from the Aztecs, apparently, at least some of them. Am I getting that right? Is that the Aztecs that were in the Andes? I'm sorry. I need to study history more. So oca is just a tuberous oxalis, and it's kind of like a potato, and it's a nice flavor. It has more nutritional value than the spud, and you can cure it first before eating it. So because there is a bit of oxalic acid in it, which makes it taste a little lemony. And the mashua is a tuberous nasturtium, very spicy tubers, so you wouldn't be eating a whole tuber. People bake them. I don't really like the texture after you cook it. You can just basically you can basically just grate it over food, and it's really nice. It's kind of like horseradish, but a whole different flavor, like nasturtium flavor. And the leaves of the mashua are edible, and they're really nice. They have the same flavor as nasturtium leaves and flowers, but without the spiciness. And they're great for adding into a salad. So it's a kind of it's the kind of vegetable you can harvest from middle of the growing season until the end of the growing season, because a good hard frost will knock them out. But they do get through the October, November frosts that we get here usually. And then they flower. If they make it long enough to the end of November and December, they actually, the mashua flowers, and it has this really nice flower, orange and yellow. And when you eat it, it's really sweet. So there's so much nectar in those flowers that actually they taste sweet when you eat it. So they're really nice. And it's one of those very late food sources for the insects. So pollinating insects, I don't really see any insects around in December. Has anyone from Ireland on the chat here? Please let me know. Do you see any insects in December, any given year? I was just wondering, because is there any point in really having the mashua for that purpose? I mean, other than eating the flowers yourself. No harm if they don't, if they don't get pollinated, they don't produce seed. We have not been able to get viable seed from mashuas anyway. Maybe if you plant them in the polytunnel, which I haven't tried yet, I will actually do that next year. I'm going to grow a couple of mashua plants in the polytunnel next year and see what happens. I know they're going to explode though. I'm going to just trellis them over the top of the seating area, kind of like the grapes and the kiwis. And of course, the figs are at the other end where the tables are. But oh yeah, Mike, you and Vanessa are coming for the walk on Sunday. It's actually fully booked. We have 10 people coming, same as last time. That was 2 weeks ago. We did the last walk. It's a free guided tour for those of you who haven't heard about it. And if you'd like to come to the next one, if you didn't get to book this one, it'll be up on the website again. So there is actually the first link, the first product in the shop. I put it up there. And if you're on the audio, it's just gardensforlife.ie/shop. And the first item there should be the free guided tours. If you're not too far from Roscommon, please do come if you're interested in seeing our garden. And we will happily show it to you. We'd like to show it to as many people as we can. Anyone that's enthusiastic enough about it. And let me see, get rid of that. Folks, please let me know if you have any questions. So let me see here. Celeriac, you can't, Kevin's saying, can't get it to grow big. Too short, the season is too short for it. I think you just need to probably start it off earlier. I find the same problem I have with leeks, actually. Regular old leeks, I'm not sure what variety I tried. I tried a couple of different varieties, and they just seem to take 3 months to get to this size, and then they take off finally. And in the end, they're still always full size in the winter time when the season is really finishing at the end of October, I guess. That's really, I think October is really the month for where the light levels really go down here in Ireland anyway. September is still a good month for growth, I think, in general anyway. So we still have this month and next month. So if you're looking to start any other plants this year, including spring vegetables that you plant before the winter, like garlic, sprouting broccoli. I'm no expert on growing vegetables, by the way. Jesus, don't take my advice for it. Ask Charles on the Bull on Ark or Richard Perkins, although Richard Perkins may not have the time to even respond. Charles is flat out too. Let me see here. So folks, if you let me know if you have any questions, and I'll happily answer them in the chat, or let me know in the chat, I'll answer them in person. We're also live on our Homestead channel. Unfortunately, the Homestead channel has not been getting as much attention as it would have been nice to have, because I haven't been doing much homesteading at the moment, because I'm trying to make the most of the growing season, really. And what way do I put it to you now? I better start some more plants this month before it's too late, because I found that even mid-September is a bit too late to start plants off, because they don't really grow big enough to make it through the winter. So I better start as many plants as I can, especially Japanese wineberries. I haven't got enough of those. Also getting Jacob's ladder, and I'm getting more marshmallow plants. I've got 2 batches of valerian on, and I've got a whole pile of other plants. They're all up on the website if you're interested in purchasing any of them. And yeah, please let us know if you have any interesting plants yourself, and if you'd like to swap for anything on our website. We're very happy to barter and to swap. Oh yes, Mike, if you're still here now, please take a look at the website, anything that's available. I'm very happy to swap for honey, of course, or whatever else you got. Anything at all that people can produce. We're always very happy to find other producers. We're not actually food producers, but we do produce a lot of things in the gardens, of course. A garden is a multifunctional thing, and plants are always handy to have for many purposes, not just for food, but also for herbal remedies as well. And one of those herbal remedies is the comfrey, which I just uploaded a video for 2 hours ago. I just showed how I harvest the leaves. You can use a knife, or you can use just do it by hand, and you can dry the leaves then in a dryer or hang them up. And by the way, for those of you who have seen the video, hanging them up in a bunch in the greenhouse works fine, but the stalks don't dry properly at all like that, at least not if it's not sunny, if the greenhouse is not warm enough. But I'm just going to separate them and put them in the dryer now, and I'm going to hang up more. So we're just drying a couple of big batches of comfrey, and we're going to be using those leaves when you're infusing an oil, whether it's a cold infusion or a hot infusion. We usually do cold for 6 weeks in a sunny spot in a jar, because it extracts more of the goodness, and it doesn't basically burn up any of it by heating the oil. But when you do use dried leaves or flowers rather than basically fresh leaf or flower to make your infused oil, you run the risk of having mold develop, because of course fresh plant material has water in it, and mold needs moisture to thrive. So if you're ever making any kind of oils, like infused oils to make creams and balms and things like that, comfrey is actually one of those that's used for that purpose. Oftentimes, its traditional name is knit bone, so you can actually use it to heal your bones quicker. And I'm talking out of my own personal experience, because I broke my collarbone one time, and I just put a cream on it. Bianca made a little cream for me, and we didn't have any dried comfrey. So here's a top tip for you: if you have comfrey in the garden, but you need it quickly, you just juice it. If you have a juicer, especially a slow juicer is ideal. We just juiced it, and then we use the juice and put it into a base cream and mix it, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And then you can just use it. But remember, that cream only lasts for about a month, and it goes off. I'm not sure what it does when it goes off. I mean, we've had cream here that is over a year old, and it's fine. But apparently it can probably go moldy, I guess, maybe if you're adding other things to it. But balms are much better. So balm is basically the same thing as a cream without the water content. So when we make balm, we haven't made any balm for like a year now. We need to make some. So there's different ones you can make actually. Marigolds are great too. Calendula, that is, for those of you who are not from the English-speaking countries. The comfrey cream actually is definitely something that's worth having. That's for sure. But when we're making them, we're basically just heating up the infused oil over a double water bath. So a bowl in a pot full of water, and we heat up the water, basically bring it to a boil almost, and slowly heat it up, the infused oil, in the double water boiler, and then we add our beeswax. And that basically amalgamates it, and then you can fill it into the jars hot, and then it'll settle, and then you can use it. The balms actually last much longer than the creams. So according to most books, it's actually 3 months, maybe even 3 to 6 months on the balms, and 1 month or so, 1 to 2 months on the creams. But our experience is the balm can last for 5 years. I don't think it's a problem, but I wouldn't count on it still to be as pure or for it to still work. So you'd want to let me see. You'd want to kind of make fresh tinctures and oils and balms and creams every year. So that's something we need to get into a rhythm of. So Mike is asking, are we going to do a workshop about making balms and oils? Well, why not? But I think we probably need to run a few more trials first, so that we have something to show you, and maybe even a few different combinations of herbs as well. So, I mean, tinctures are actually something that we should include in a workshop anyway. We can run a herbal remedy workshop. I was often thinking about doing it. I've just been telling people about how to make them, and just haven't made any videos about it really. But why not? Yeah, let's do that. Mike and Vanessa, maybe you'd like to be our guinea pigs. Not literally, but maybe you'd like to attend our first herbal remedy workshop. We could maybe host something like that here. And actually, you guys don't know yet, but the smaller workshops, most of the workshops we run now, we actually don't put on dates anymore. We just ask people to contact us, and we'll agree a date instead. So if you'd like to go for a workshop, actually, I have an events page here. Hang on a second. I hope that's not the one I deleted. Oh, here it is. For those of you on the audio only, gardenforlife.ie/events. And let me just put that in here. Yes, it's on the comments now too, for those of you who want to click on it. Yeah, if you want, we can put on a workshop, Mike and Vanessa. We usually run the workshops at our house now, because a lot of them actually are practical workshops where we go and walk around the garden, for example, and we actually pick up ingredients and use them. So we can do that. We can also do workshops here at our place. So if you're interested, just send us an email and let us know what day suits you the best, Mike and Vanessa. So we usually run them. They're very small workshops, so we have a lot of time for questions, and also it just works better for us here at the house rather than at a public venue. So we are nearing 49 minutes here. Folks, please let me know if you have any questions. For those of you interested, if you need to, actually, here's a question. What is tincture? So a tincture, there's different ways to extract active constituents from a herb. A herb could be any plant, any part of the plant at all. The root, usually it's herbaceous perennials or herbaceous plants. That's why it's called a herb, I guess. But you can also use leaves and flowers off trees as well. But with regular old herb, like herbaceous perennials, we usually use the leaves or the flowers or even the root. Although I don't like using the root because then you have to take the plant. So with comfrey, that's not a problem because you can just split it and then you can grow it again from the crown divisions. So beeswax, yes, please, Mike, please. Beeswax would be awesome. We'd love some of that. That'd be mutually beneficial. And Bianca actually has a little bit of a range of oils, but only one or two from last year. We made some calendula oils as well, and Bianca made some balms and creams, and we also use basically alcohol. You can just get any spirit, neutral flavored spirit, ideally, like vodka, for example, and you can use it to extract active constituents from your herbs. So you can just basically put your dried herb or leaves or flowers into, or maybe even root, into your alcohol in a jar, and just make sure you cover the solid part, the herbs, completely with the liquid. And then you just close it. You don't need to close it completely. Yeah, we do. We do seal it. It's a sealed jar. And we put it somewhere with no sunlight and somewhere at room temperature. And that's basically how you make tincture. You leave it, you can shake it once a day for a week or two. And then after 4 weeks, it's done. And then you can filter it, or you can just take a bit of it and then top it up again, or leave it as it is. It can stay good for up to about 1 to 2 years, the tincture itself. But if you're using a dried herb, as I said, we have valerian tincture there that's like over a year old, and the herb is still in the jar, and it just gets better and it's stronger, like. But it definitely loses efficacy. Is that how you say the word? What's the word for, like, potency? Like, it loses some of its goodness over time. Anyway, that's for sure. So tinctures, generally speaking, you kind of want to make a fresh tincture of all the basic necessities. You know, are like you want to make those every year. Basically, probably echinacea tincture and valerian, and I can't really think of any other ones right now. A lot of them you can just buy the tea on the internet as well, or in health food shops, and you can just take, that's dried herb, of course, and if you get good quality, especially organic or better, you can just use that to make your tincture as well. So yeah, sure. I think that'll do. And for those of you still here, thank you for joining us this week for our live chat. And if you watch this after it has been live, if you watch it, the replay of it, please join us next week, every Thursday at 9 p.m. GMT. For those of you over in America, I need to say what time zone we're in. And thank you for joining us this week. We are working on putting up the winter selection at the moment on our shop. It's just scansforlife.ie/shop. So keep an eye on that. And we're going to be putting up all the rest of the products too, including the willow cuttings. That's the hybrid willow. It grows really fast. It's great for those willows. We use them for kindling, actually. They dry really quickly as well. So you can use them for kindling. You can grow more trees out of the cuttings you get. You get fodder as well. You can use them to make a privacy fence or even a windbreaker. So that's what we use it for. It's basically to create a quick shelter belt as quickly as possible if you want to kind of shelter your garden, or if you have a road frontage and you want a bit more privacy, or if you were living on a hill in the west of Ireland, on the west side of the hill, that's where our garden is. So we had to plant a little shelter belt. And that's the first thing I did actually 7 years ago or 6 years ago. And I never looked back, because the willow is the best at covering the area quickly. Elders are really good for that too. Hybrid poplars. And we're also going to have all the tubers vegetables there back as well. So the ochas are doing really well this year. Yacons not growing very quickly, not growing as they should. They're definitely a month behind, same as the corn. So I'm not sure if it's down to lower light levels because we've had a lot of cloud cover, but hopefully we'll get a good yacon harvest so we can offer more of them again later in the season. But if you'd like to support us, I know some of you guys watching are already members. You can become a member of our support community and get many benefits. Just take a look at our members page if you want to find out more. You get a big discount and you get free access to the no-dig gardening course that's online. And I think, Mike and Vanessa, I don't know if you have access to it. If any of you guys that are members that are watching this, if you are a member and if you don't have access to our no-dig gardening course, the online course, please let me know. Just send me an email to contact@gardensforlife.ie and just let me know, because I'll enable your account for the access. All members get access to our online no-dig course for free and the ebooks that I wrote too. And yeah, thanks. And thanks for joining us this week. One more thing. If you'd like to join our email list, which is free of charge, please go to our website. It's just gardensforlife.ie, and just down the main page, you can put your email address in and subscribe to our email list. That way, you'll never miss anything that we do, because we're always going to be sending out a quick email a couple of times a week whenever something new comes up on the website. I know if you're on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all those lovely websites, you may or may not hear about us. You never know, because the algorithm always favors whoever has more views or whatever. So if you definitely want to find out when we have something new, please join our email list. So if you're on the audio only, it's gardensforlife.ie/subscribe. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.